faced a situation where standing up for what you believe in could cost you everything? Imagine living in an ancient kingdom where one man's faith is tested in the most extreme way. Today we will go over the story of Daniel, a man whose unwavering devotion to God leads him into a den of lions. Stay tuned as we explore this dramatic tale from the book of Daniel, where faith, courage, and divine intervention from our Heavenly Father collide in an unforgettable way. Our story unfolds in the vast and powerful kingdom of Persia, ruled by King Darius. Daniel, a Jewish exile, had become one of the most trusted officials in the kingdom due to his exceptional wisdom and integrity. King Darius was so impressed with Daniel that he planned to appoint him over the entire kingdom. Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. Daniel chapter 6:3. This plan incited jealousy among the other high-ranking officials. Desperate to find a way to bring Daniel down, they scrutinized his every move, but they could find no corruption or negligence in him. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Daniel chapter 6:4. Knowing they could not find any fault in his professional conduct, Daniel's rivals decided to target his faith. They approached King Darius with a cunning plan, suggesting that he issue a decree stating that for 30 days, no one could pray to any god or human except to the king. Flattered by this notion, King Darius signed the decree, making it unchangeable under the law of the Medes and Persians. So these administrators and satraps went as a group to the king and said, "May King Darius live forever." The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or human being during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Daniel chapter 6:6-7. Despite knowing the decree, Daniel continued to pray to God 3 times a day, just as he had always done. His enemies were quick to report this to the king, who, despite his fondness for Daniel, was bound by the irrevocable law and ordered Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. When Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Daniel chapter 6:10. That night, a stone was placed over the den's mouth, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring, ensuring that Daniel's fate could not be altered. King Darius spent a sleepless night, fasting and hoping for Daniel's safety. At dawn, he rushed to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve continually been able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel chapter 6:20. To his great relief, Daniel answered, "May the king live forever. My God sent his angel and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty." Daniel chapter 6:21-22. King Darius was overjoyed and ordered Daniel to be lifted out of the den. Not a scratch was found on him because he had trusted in his God. The king then commanded that those who had falsely accused Daniel be thrown into the lion's den, where they met a grisly end. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Daniel chapter 6:24. Deeply moved by the miracle and Daniel's unwavering faith, King Darius issued a decree to all the peoples, nations, and languages in his kingdom, declaring the power and greatness of God. Then King Darius wrote to all the nations and peoples of every language in all the earth, "May you prosper greatly. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel." For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. Daniel chapter 6, 25 through 27. Daniel continued to prosper during the reign of Darius and the subsequent reign of Cyrus the Persian. The story of Daniel in the lion's den concludes with a powerful testament to the faithfulness of God and the importance of unwavering trust in him. The story of Daniel in the lion's den teaches us several important lessons. Number 1, faith and integrity. Daniel's unwavering faith in God and his integrity, even in the face of death, exemplify the strength of character that believers should aspire to. No matter how dark times may seem, God will always be by our side. Number 2, divine protection. God's intervention to save Daniel shows that he protects those who are faithful to him. There is not an enemy too strong or powerful that God cannot deliver us from. Number 3, justice prevails. The eventual downfall of Daniel's accusers demonstrates that deceit and malice are ultimately punished. There is simply no judgment or punishment like the wrath of God on those who are malicious evildoers. Number 4, influence of a godly life. Daniel's unwavering faithfulness profoundly impacted King Darius, compelling him to acknowledge the power of Daniel's God and issue a decree for everyone in the kingdom to revere him. This illustrates that you never know who might be observing your actions. By letting your light shine and living a godly life, you might inspire someone who is lost to follow Christ and embrace Christianity simply through the example you set. Let Daniel's story inspire you to stand firm in your faith, knowing that God is always with you, even in the most perilous situations in your life. Thanks for watching, and may God bless you. Please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section, as well as please respect the opinions of others. To follow along and be notified for more biblical posts, please like
Welcome back to our channel. Today, we have a truly extraordinary story to share with you. We are diving into the captivating tale of Moses, the infant discovered in the river. Brace yourself for an adventure filled with divine intervention, courage, and liberation. Let's begin. Our story begins in ancient Egypt, a land of opulence and despair. The duration of the Israelites' stay in Egypt extended far beyond their initial expectations. For nearly 400 years, they resided in that land. Their descent into Egypt, however, proved to be a tremendous blessing. It shielded them from famine and destitution. After the period of scarcity had passed, they discovered the fertile soil in the region of Goshen, their dwelling place within Egypt, enabling them to yield 3 or 4 harvests annually. Moreover, before their arrival in Egypt, the sons of Israel had begun to intermarry with the women of Canaan who worshipped idols instead of the Lord. Had they remained there, their children would have assimilated into the surrounding pagan culture and eventually forsaken their knowledge of God. However, in Goshen, they dwelled in seclusion, set apart from the Egyptian populace. They worshipped the Lord God and remained untouched by the Egyptian idols. With the passage of time, their numbers grew exponentially until they became a vast multitude. Each of Jacob's 12 sons became the progenitor of a tribe, while Joseph, the son of Jacob, became the father of 2 tribes, named Ephraim and Manasseh after his own sons. During Joseph's lifetime and for some time thereafter, the people of Israel received benevolent treatment from the Egyptians, owing to their gratitude toward Joseph, who had saved Egypt from the grip of famine. However, a new ruler ascended the throne in Egypt, oblivious to Joseph's deeds and his people's plight. Observing the exponential growth of the Israelites, known as the children of Israel, he became apprehensive that they might soon surpass the Egyptians in number and power. Addressing his subjects, he declared, "We must exert firmer control over these Israelites. They are becoming too formidable." Consequently, harsh measures were imposed upon the Israelites, burdening them with heavy labor and onerous tasks. They were compelled to toil tirelessly for the Egyptians, constructing cities and surrendering a significant portion of their crop yields. Engaged in brick-making and the construction of storehouses, the Israelites were subject to a dreadful decree stipulating the execution of all newborn Hebrew boys, while the girls were permitted to live. However, despite the prevailing hatred, injustice, and cruelty, the Israelites continued to multiply and grow stronger. During this period of intensified oppression and the extermination of their infants, a remarkable event occurred: a baby boy was born. Recognizing the exceptional beauty of her child, his mother concealed him from the prying eyes of their enemies. When concealment was no longer feasible, she devised a plan to safeguard her beloved child, firmly believing that God would assist her in preserving her precious son's life. Crafting a small boat-like structure, she carefully sealed it to prevent water from seeping in. This covered vessel was commonly known as an ark. Aware that Pharaoh's daughter, the king's offspring, all Egyptian monarchs were known as Pharaoh, regularly bathed in the river, the mother placed her baby boy within the ark and set it afloat downstream, where the princess, Pharaoh's daughter, would discover it. She assigned her own 12-year-old daughter, Miriam, to observe from a close distance. The mother and sister anxiously watched as the tiny ark drifted away on the river's current. Pharaoh's daughter, accompanied by her attendants, arrived at the riverbank and noticed the ark floating among the reeds. She dispatched one of her maids to retrieve the vessel, eager to unveil its mysterious contents. Upon opening it, they discovered an enchanting infant who immediately cried out for attention. The princess felt compassion for the child and instantaneously grew fond of him. She remarked, "This is one of the Hebrew children." The name Hebrews was bestowed upon the children of Israel. Pharaoh's daughter deemed it cruel to allow such a delightful baby to perish in the river. Coincidentally, a young girl approached, seemingly by accident, and also gazed upon the baby. She proposed, "Shall I fetch a Hebrew woman to nurse and care for the child?" "Yes," replied the princess. "Go and find a nurse for me." The little girl, Miriam, the baby's sister, rushed off as swiftly as her feet could carry her to locate the infant's mother. Miriam's resourcefulness and thoughtfulness shone brightly in that moment. The princess then addressed the baby's mother, saying, "Take this child to your home and nurse him on my behalf. I shall reward you for your services." Overjoyed, the Hebrew mother eagerly accepted the opportunity to care for her child. With the protection of the princess of Egypt, the king's daughter, her son was safe from harm. As the child matured and reached the appropriate age, Pharaoh's daughter welcomed him into the palace, where he became a cherished member of the nobility. She named him Moses, signifying drawn out, as he had been drawn out of the water. Thus, Moses, the Hebrew boy, resided within the palace walls, surrounded by the Egyptian elite as the princess's son. He acquired knowledge and wisdom beyond what he would have acquired among his own people, benefiting from the guidance of astute instructors. Unbeknownst to the cruel king who enslaved the Israelites, God's chosen people, Moses, the Hebrew boy, was maturing within the royal court. In due course, he would lead his people to freedom. Despite growing up amidst the Egyptians and absorbing their wisdom, Moses maintained a profound love for his fellow Israelites. Despite their poverty, persecution, and enslavement, he held them dear because they were the people who served the Lord God, unlike the Egyptians who worshipped idols and animals. It was perplexing that the Egyptians, despite their wisdom, would bow down and pray to an ox, a cat, or even a snake. When Moses reached adulthood, he ventured into the midst of his own people, relinquishing the wealth and comfort he could have enjoyed among the Egyptians. He sensed a divine calling to uplift and liberate the Israelites. Yet, at that time, his efforts to aid them proved futile. They rejected his leadership, and as the king of Egypt became his adversary, Moses departed from Egypt to seek refuge in the land of Midian, situated in Arabia. Weary from his arduous journey, Moses sat beside a well in Midian when he observed a group of young women arriving to draw water for their flocks of sheep. However, a band of rough men rudely drove the women away and seized the water for themselves. Witnessing this injustice, Moses came to the aid of the women, ensuring their flocks received water by drawing it for them. These young women were sisters, daughters of a man named Jethro, a priest in the land of Midian. Impressed by Moses' intervention, Jethro invited him to reside with them and assist in tending his flock. Moses accepted the offer, ultimately marrying one of Jethro's daughters. Thus, Moses transitioned from a prince in the Egyptian palace to a shepherd in the wilderness of Midian. However, Moses' days as a shepherd were numbered. While tending his sheep, he encountered a remarkable sight, a burning bush. God appeared to him from within the flames and conveyed that he must return to Egypt, assuming the role of leader for his people. The Lord assured him that the wicked Egyptians would face retribution for their mistreatment of the Israelites. In the book of Exodus within your Bible, you will discover how God faithfully fulfilled his promise. The Egyptians were plagued with numerous calamities, culminating in the liberation of the Israelites. Miraculously crossing the Red Sea, they embarked on a prolonged journey through the wilderness, where God provided them with manna from heaven to sustain them daily. Furthermore, God bestowed upon them the 10 Commandments, a moral guide for their daily lives. Sadly, they strayed from the Lord's teachings, fashioning idols and offering them worship. The tale of Moses continues to resonate through the ages, inspiring millions with his unwavering faith, leadership, and liberation of the Israelites. His story reminds us of the power of determination, the strength of conviction, and the ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. We hope this video has enlightened and inspired you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our captivating historical content. Until next time, keep exploring the wonders of the past. See you soon.
The story of Joshua's leadership and the conquest of Canaan is a pivotal chapter in Israel's history, fulfilling God's long-standing promise to give his people a land of their own. After the death of Moses, God spoke directly to Joshua, giving him the charge to lead the Israelites into the land of Canaan. God promised Joshua that he would be with him just as he had been with Moses, and urged him to be strong and courageous. In Joshua 1:1-9, God laid out specific instructions for Joshua, emphasizing the importance of obedience to the law that Moses had given. The Lord also reassured Joshua that wherever the Israelites set foot, he would give them the land. God said to Joshua, "Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go." Joshua accepted the mantle of leadership, and the people of Israel prepared to cross into Canaan. One of the first challenges Joshua faced was the crossing of the Jordan River, which was at flood stage, making it impassable by ordinary means. However, God provided a miracle similar to the parting of the Red Sea under Moses. He instructed Joshua that the priest carrying the Ark of the Covenant, which symbolized God's presence, should step into the Jordan. As soon as the priest's feet touched the water, the river stopped flowing and the Israelites crossed on dry ground. This miraculous event confirmed Joshua's divine appointment as Israel's leader, just as the parting of the Red Sea had affirmed Moses' leadership. Once the people had crossed the Jordan, Joshua had set them up a memorial with 12 stones taken from the riverbed, one for each tribe of Israel, to commemorate God's faithfulness and miraculous provision. The first major city the Israelites encountered after crossing the Jordan was Jericho, a heavily fortified city with strong walls. Rather than using traditional military strategies, God gave Joshua specific and unusual instructions for taking the city. In Joshua 6, God instructed Joshua that for 6 days the Israelites were to march around the city once each day, with 7 priests carrying trumpets made of ram's horns in front of the Ark of the Covenant. On the 7th day, they were to march around the city 7 times, and then the priests were to blow their trumpets, and the people were to shout. When they did this, the walls of Jericho would collapse. Joshua and the Israelites followed these instructions exactly. For 6 days they marched in silence, and on the 7th day, after marching around the city 7 times, they blew their trumpets, and Joshua commanded the people to shout. As soon as they did, the walls of Jericho fell down miraculously. The Israelites entered the city and destroyed everything inside, as God had commanded. Only Rahab, a prostitute who had sheltered the Israelite spies, and her family were spared because of her faithfulness in hiding the spies. This victory at Jericho was significant because it demonstrated that the conquest of Canaan would be achieved through God's power and not by human strength. However, God gave strict instructions that all the silver, gold, bronze, and iron from Jericho were to be dedicated to his treasury. The Israelites were not to take anything for themselves. After the miraculous victory at Jericho, Joshua set his sights on the next city, Ai. Unlike Jericho, Ai was a much smaller and less fortified city, so Joshua sent a smaller force to attack it. However, to their surprise, the Israelites were defeated and about 36 men were killed. This unexpected loss caused great fear and confusion among the Israelites. Joshua was devastated by the defeat and sought the Lord's guidance. God revealed that Israel had sinned by breaking the covenant. Achan, an Israelite, had taken some of the devoted items from Jericho, things that were supposed to be dedicated to God, and hidden them in his tent. This disobedience brought judgment on the entire community and caused God to withdraw his protection. God said to Joshua, "Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant, which I commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen. They have lied. They have put them with their own possessions." Joshua followed God's instructions to identify the guilty person by casting lots. The lot fell on Achan, who confessed to taking a beautiful robe from Babylonia, 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold. He had hidden them in his tent. Achan's sin had serious consequences. He, along with his family, were taken to the valley of Achor, where they were stoned to death, and their possessions were burned. This act of judgment was necessary to remove the sin from the community and restore God's favor. With Achan's sin addressed, God gave Joshua a new strategy to conquer Ai. This time, Joshua set an ambush for the city. He divided his forces, sending part of the army to hide behind the city, while the rest approached Ai from the front. When the king of Ai saw the Israelites, he led his army out to engage them, thinking he would defeat them again. Joshua and his forces pretended to retreat, drawing the men of Ai away from the city. At this moment, the hidden Israelite forces entered Ai from the rear and set the city on fire. When the men of Ai saw the smoke rising, they realized they had been trapped. Joshua's main force turned and attacked, and the Israelites completely defeated the people of Ai. This victory at Ai was an important turning point. It demonstrated that the Israelites' success depended entirely on God's favor and blessing. When sin was removed from the camp, Israel could once again experience victory. After the victory at Ai, Joshua led the Israelites in a covenant renewal ceremony at Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, as Moses had instructed. Joshua built an altar to the Lord, offered sacrifices, and wrote the law of Moses on large stones. The Israelites gathered, and Joshua read aloud the blessings and the curses of the covenant, renewing their commitment to follow God's commands. This ceremony was significant because it reminded the people that their success in Canaan was directly tied to their faithfulness to God and His covenant. It reinforced the importance of obedience as they continued their conquest. As news of Israel's victory spread, other nations in Canaan became fearful. The Gibeonites, who lived nearby, resorted to deception to make peace with Israel. They disguised themselves as travelers from a distant land and approached Joshua, asking him to make a treaty with them. Without seeking God's counsel, Joshua agreed to their treaty, only to discover later that the Gibeonites were actually their neighbors. Although Joshua could not break the treaty, the Gibeonites were made servants to the Israelites, tasked with carrying wood and water from the community. This event taught Joshua and the Israelites the importance of always seeking God's guidance before making decisions. With much of central Canaan under Israel's control, Joshua next focused on the southern and northern regions. In the south, a coalition of 5 Amorite kings banded together to fight Israel. Joshua led his army into battle, and during the Battle of Gibeon, God performed another miracle. At Joshua's request, God caused the sun to stand still, giving the Israelites more daylight to complete their victory. In the northern campaign, Joshua faced another coalition of kings led by Jabin, king of Hazor. God again delivered these enemies into Joshua's hands, and the Israelites conquered the northern territories. Throughout these campaigns, the Bible emphasizes that it was the Lord who fought for Israel. Despite the size and strength of their armies, God granted them victory because they followed His commands. After the major military victories, Joshua turned to the task of dividing the conquered land among the 12 tribes of Israel. This process is described in detail in Joshua 13-21. Each tribe received a portion of the land as their inheritance, fulfilling the promise God had made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Joshua also set up cities of refuge, where individuals who accidentally killed someone could flee for protection and receive a fair trial. Additionally, he allocated Levitical cities for the priestly tribe of Levi, ensuring that the Levites were spread throughout Israel to serve the people. As Joshua neared the end of his life, he gathered the people of Israel at Shechem for a final address. He reminded them of God's faithfulness in bringing them into the land of Canaan, and warned them against worshipping the false gods of the nations around them. In Joshua 23:24, Joshua urged the people to remain faithful to the Lord. He famously declared, "But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord." The people responded by renewing their commitment to serve God, and Joshua set up a large stone as a witness to this covenant renewal. Joshua died at the age of 110 and was buried in the land of his inheritance. The Bible records that Israel remained faithful to the Lord throughout Joshua's lifetime and the lifetimes of the elders who outlived him. Joshua's leadership was characterized by faithfulness, courage, and obedience to God. The conquest of Canaan was more than a series of military victories. It was a spiritual journey that required the Israelites to trust in God's power and guidance. Through Joshua, God fulfilled his promise to give the descendants of Abraham the land of Canaan. The stories of Jericho and Ai illustrate powerful lessons about faith, obedience, and the consequences of sin. At Jericho, the Israelites experienced miraculous victory because they trusted in God and followed his instructions. However, the defeat at Ai showed how disobedience, Achan's sin, could bring disaster. Once the sin was dealt with, God's favor was restored and victory followed. Joshua's life and leadership remind us that true success comes from God's strength, not human effort, and that he is faithful to fulfill his promises, even when the journey seems impossible.
Some say we are cowards, and others think we are blind. But we'll see who gets the reward when the lost glory we shall find. See them gathering horses and weapons of war. They're sitting around tables in the dark, setting strategies on the mark. But soon the war will be over. Soon the war will be over. And soon the loser will suffer. Soon the loser will suffer. Their knees have got victory in the spirit, but those who fight on horses will see death when all they have is defeat. Well, listen to me now. The truth is very simple. You ought to win or you lose. When you see the blind, the leper, and the cripple, that's the strength of their army. Tell me, how can they fight when they cannot see? Their hearts are filled with fear. Their only weapon is the sword, but we have the power of the word. Soon the war will be over. Soon the war will be over. And soon the loser will suffer. Soon the loser will suffer. Those who fight on their knees have got victory in the spirit. Those who fight on horses will see death when all they have is defeat. Let God arise and let all his enemies be scattered. Let them flee before him. like chaff before the wind, and let them melt like wax before the fire. But let the heirs of salvation shout the shout of victory. And let us all rejoice, because the Lord God Almighty, He has given us the land. Now let us go and possess our possessions. Yeah. Soon the war will be over. Soon the loser will suffer. Soon the loser will suffer. Those who fight on their knees have got victory in the spirit. But those who fight on horses will see death when